One. Welcome to the Golf Podcast Live. We've rebranded the show, and that's what it's called now. We talk all things golf, and we talk about life. I'm your host, Rafael Kalamat, alongside Michael Bleackley. Lots to talk about today. We have Tiger Woods news. We got Jin Young Ko. We got Colin Morikawa. We're going to be talking about favorite courses. But before we get started, we have a very special guest. His name is Austin Hughes. He's the 2013 Canadian PGA Teacher of the Year, and he runs a studio out in Vancouver, helping with high performance athletes get their game to where it should be. Uh, how's it going, guys?
It's going great, Raf.
Good, yeah.
Austin, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and break that down for us.
Yeah, so I coach full time with Rob Houlding. Rob Houlding was 2013 PGA Teacher of the Year, but I work under him.
Oh,
And
sorry about that. There we go.
yeah, no. He's a very highly credible coach, and known around the world. I think he's built up 17 PGA or sorry, Team Canada players.
Right.
And Nick Taylor, Adam Svensson, a couple PGA Tour players, a lot of really high-end elite junior players. So I've kind of got my feet wet and got into the coaching world for most of 2021, full year. I've been at it now, and I mean, I was coaching on and off before then, and caddying on PGA Tour, Mackenzie Tour, Corn Ferry Tour, Web.com Tour before it was the Corn Ferry Tour. So I've had a lot of experience out there with, seeing what the new generation players are doing in the world of golf, using resources, technology, all the things available for these players to take advantage of. And, the competition is becoming more elite. Junior kids are becoming a lot better, faster. And it's an exciting time for athletics and just to see what these players are capable now of doing.
Yeah, it's pretty
Fun to
amazing.
watch, fun for me to watch too. Yeah. Yeah. So on my end, I work with a lot of younger kids. So I've got that age group from 6 anywhere to 13. And I also work with adults, but my goal as a coach is really to just give my experience and what I've learned in my golf career, and it's still in my golf career, but what I can give to these kids and give to these adults from what I've seen out on tour and what players are doing, and what they're taking advantage of, what they're working on day to day. It's pretty cool. So I can definitely elaborate on that through the show.
And I just want to jump in and talk about the facility that you're working out of with Rob Holding. And Raf, I mentioned this to you, and for anyone who's listening, that it's unbelievable. They've got all the technology, TrackMan, pressure plates, full indoor short game area. How many? There's a half a dozen or bays in the facility.
Yeah, so we have 4 full bays
Yeah,
operating right now. We're building a 5th one upstairs.
yeah.
But yeah, they're all powered with TrackMan. We have swing catalysts. We've got the pressure plates, body track, camera systems. Yeah, we've got all the putting resources. We got Sam Putt Lab. We got Capto. We got pretty much all the new current resources that a lot of the best players and coaches are using now. And
Yeah.
it's even for 2022. There's lots of new hot technology coming out, and it's great. It's great for the student as well because there's a lot of data and a lot of feedback you can give them too. So it's
Well,
very
I can speak from experience last winter, spending some time in there with you and tweaking my lofts and lie angles. And immediately I stopped missing it left. And I went from about a 5 cap to a 2.5 over that next period of time. And it was fantastic just to put that detail into the golf club, and people don't realize those micro adjustments have a huge effect when you're out there on the golf course and 150 yards away from your target.
oh yeah.
So yeah, no, that was fantastic.
Yeah, I think things have changed a lot in the last 20 years. You look at Bryson DeChambeau and just looking at players on tour and on the range, everybody's got a track man, everybody's got some sort of launch monitor where they're looking at the numbers. Whereas 20 years ago, there were only a couple of players just getting started with that, like Tiger Woods. And so, training, assessment, doing analysis and development. When I was doing that in the early 2000s, that was sort of new and not many people were doing it. But now we got, Tiger Woods. Did you guys see the video this weekend? I can't help but bring that up.
Everybody saw that, probably 50 times each.
Look, it's like the most relevant social media post in golf for 2021, and it's 3 seconds long. And he had two words. He said, "making progress," and he had like the TrackMan there. I don't know if it was the TrackMan, but he did have some sort of device behind him, and he's wearing his black shorts with his white shirt and his white cap, his white shoes, with that black sleeve on his right leg. I guess that's the leg that really got damaged, but his legs look really thin, right? I guess he's going through recovery.
Just gonna say, yeah, super a little thin. Bit of a peg leg there.
Yeah, yeah. And what do you make of that? What do you make of the video and the impact that he still has?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that he has such a big presence in the athletic world and what he can really do to people on social media and the excitement he can create for not only the golfing world, but I think everyone in the world. He just has that big presence in today's society. Not even him teeing it up, it's just him being Tiger Woods, right? Everyone wants to know what Tiger's doing. So it's pretty cool. I know I saw that on Instagram. It's like everyone that I follow was reposting his videos. So
I'm looking at Twitter right now. It says 7 million plus views, 5,000 comments. He got over 200,000 likes. That's crazy. It's amazing that he has such an impact.
But and that's just Twitter, right? Like Instagram. Every single channel is pretty much involved with golf has reposted that. And Facebook, when he was on the Today Show this morning, Global News here locally, everyone is playing that clip. So let's see some progression. How great would that be to see him playing next year? And he's got the competitive drive to want to compete. He's not going to come out there just to play golf. He's coming out to win. And he likes to shove it up people's mouths, if you will. Wait till Brandel Chambly or somebody says he's never going to win again. That's all the fuel he needs to pull it off.
Well, and nobody said he would make it back after all the swing changes back in the 2000s, going from Hank all the way to Sean, and then going through 4 surgeries. He's up to 6 now with his back and knee. And I think he'll but if he's not competitive, he's not going to come back. If people think he's going to come back for the Masters, unless that's an old video and he's way ahead of where that video is, it's sort of like a conspiracy of sorts, because I've heard that analysis as well, where he's like way ahead of that, because he's hitting a wedge. It looks like a shorter club. He's got some curvature in his back. His hands are pretty low. He's got a 3/4 swing. It's a little bit upright. It's not really flat over his shoulder. Like his plane looks a little bit more upright. But the sound coming off the club, like I played it over and over again because there's something about that sound that makes him, makes us think that, he's saying hello world once again.
Yeah, it sounded pretty good. When I was caddying for Adam back in pre-COVID, we used to go to the Medalist quite a bit because he's a member at the Medalist, and that's Tiger's hangout spot.
When you say Adam, you mean Adam?
Svensson.
Oh, yeah. Svensson. Okay.
Yeah, so we would go to the Medalist and play at the Medalist, and saw Tiger there a couple times actually at the end of the range, and all I did was give him a wave. Couldn't. As much as I'd love to approach him and say hi to him, I mean, it was pretty cool just to watch his tempo is amazing. It's phenomenal. Just the
did
way
he wave back.
Yeah, he did. He rode back in the golf cart and gave me a.
Yeah, cool. That's cool.
He's very friendly with the members around there, and he's got his own tee boxes too, the Tiger tees at Medalist. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice.
He's
Yeah.
definitely become more approachable as he's gotten older, which is great to see. You know, he when he was younger, he was more intense and more of an intimidating figure, and he carried on that presence, just in general around the golf course. And it's great to see him a little bit more lively, cracking jokes, and so it's this new version of Tiger is welcomed. As much as I do appreciate what he did back in the day, and that grind and that intimidation factor, it's quite a different contrast from his previous days.
Yeah, Mike, we have some Tiger Woods stories. I used to be assistant professional at Royal Montreal Golf Club, so during the Canadian Open, him coming out for his practice rounds, I followed him for a little bit. Tried to approach him one time with Kelly Tillman. That didn't happen because he gave me this look, like, "What the f are you doing?" And I just turned around and walked the other way. It was amazing. He just stood there and stared at me, and you knew what he wanted to say, right? But yeah, he's an incredible guy. I certainly wish him all the best. Some people say he might come back for the Masters. You know, they're going back to the old course at St. Andrews next year for the Open. Who knows? Who knows? He might play in uh, the parent event in December, right? Is it the parent-child event out in
Yeah, the
December?
father-son
Father-son?
challenge
Yeah.
with was it the PNC
Oh,
last
the
year? I forget
PNC.
what the
That's what it
sponsor
is.
was. Yeah.
That's right. But how about this weekend? You guys follow anything this weekend? I think it's been pretty cool with Jin Young Ko winning Korean Player of the Year. You know, she
Yeah.
won the CME Tour Championship. She won 1.5 million. People don't realize how good she is. And I'm fascinated with the Golf Channel and everything that's going on right now because we're getting a lot more coverage. And so I find that people are a little bit, they're following the LPGA a little bit more. You know, she did shoot 9 under in Naples, Florida, over at that Greg Norman course. I think it's called Tiburon. And that's her 5th victory this year. And then you got Nelly Corda, who's like, what an incredible swing. You know,
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
T5, she wins last week. She's got 4 wins this year and an Olympic gold medal. That's a stellar career, you know, for most golfers. And, you know, at her age, that's fascinating, just fascinating. And then, you know, we got Brooke Henderson to cheer for as well.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that they're starting to cover women's golf more. I think it's something that was undervalued for a long time, and considering the caliber of play that these girls really do play at, it's quite incredible. You know, and you look at some of the areas of their games, like their short game is so good, putting stats really good, and their ability to just hit shots with precision and accuracy, and iron approach shots dialed in. It's really good, and that's why, even from me as a coach, I do like giving a lot of reference to girls on the LPGA Tour, because I do think that a lot of the swings and stuff they do as a player is more relatable to the average player, just because of the swing and the tempo that they're playing at compared to, you know, some of these younger generation guys on the PGA Tour swinging 120 plus every time, right?
I agree, and their whole routine, you know, grip, stance, posture, ball position, alignment, all of these things look so great. They're in a different place, and they take their time on every shot. And you know, the consistency, like you mentioned, is incredible with these players. You know, I look at Lexi Thompson. Even though her swing is not mechanically really sound, she kind of drops in onto her right side, but she's always had that swing. If you look at videos of her when she was a kid, junior golf, same thing. And yeah, all of these players are incredible. The Koreans obviously have been dominating for so long, but it's nice to see a couple of Canadians up there with Sharp and Henderson.
It is, and it's funny. The Korean representation for golf is unbelievable. It's like religion over there, and it's exploding into the LPGA tour. Just to go back onto the players on the LPGA, it's unbelievable. It's almost boring sometimes because they are right. Their approach is so perfect. They're always putting for birdie, I mean, obviously, we're showing the players in the lead, but they make it look so easy. And it's truly remarkable, the depth of talent out there on that tour right now. And great to see it grow. They need to get the purses up and make it. Like I read pardon me, I just listened to a great podcast yesterday comparing the finances on the tours from the PGA through LPGA and what the 35th player on the PGA makes versus what the 35th player on the LPGA makes, where they're truly struggling to cover their event costs and caddy costs and all that. So if this popularity for the LPGA could help increase their purses and get improved sponsors, will bode a long way to improving women's golf.
Absolutely. I mean, looking at how women's golf has grown, LPGA almost collapsed altogether 10 years ago. I mean, right now they're in a really good place. COVID has played a really weird role where things were difficult on the LET tour, which is the Ladies European Tour, and the LPGA, but things have grown considerably, and sponsorship has committed for the following year. They've got purse increases up to 50% higher on some events, and most events are going 15 to 30% higher. So it is growing. There's a lot more coverage. It's exciting to watch. And, let's, because we're going to run out of time, I just want to make sure that we cover a couple of other things that happened this weekend. Colin Morikawa wins at 24 years old the DP World Championship, which is now going to be not the European Tour, but the DP World Tour because of sponsorship. And, he shot 17 under, shot a 66, showed everybody that he could do it. Not only does he win the tournament, he wins the race to Dubai. And the craziest trophies in golf, one that weighs like 100 pounds and the other one's a scepter or something. That's pretty cool. And he's the first American to win it. And let's not forget, I don't think a lot of Canadians and Americans know about the tour history out in Europe, because you got guys like Ballesteros, Longer, Norman, Faldo, Montgomery, who've won this thing. McElroy, that's from Tin Cup. Rory, there's Rory, and then there's Els, right? There's guys like that who've won this race to Dubai, and it's a big deal out there, and I don't think we give it enough credit. But now that golf is becoming more of a world game, I think Colin's really put that tournament and that tour on the map.
Yeah, Colin's got such a beautiful swing, and the ball striking is unbelievable. Let's throw that over to you to break it down, Austin, because you're the swing doctor. What do you think of the amateur golfer could learn from Colin?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you were to kind of run through his statistics and look at some of the areas of his game, I mean, his approach game is really good. He drives the ball very well, hits it far. He's got kind of a new generation move, you could say, with his wrist being a little bit bowed, and a lot of players are going to that to get a little bit more power and de-loft it. And, high swing speed players, I don't know too much of the history of his golf swing per se, but, if you look at Schauffele, Morikawa, DJ, Koepka, you look at all these guys, I mean, they're all trying to get, not get into this position, but they are in this position naturally, right?
Yeah.
And, it works for them. And, I like Morikawa. I like his attitude. He's got a really good attitude. I like his demeanor and, what he does off the golf course as well. He seems like a really nice guy. So looking at his overall game and what he's done since he's been on tour after he left college, I mean, he's had an amazing career, and his putting stats are great. He's an overall really good player. And I think, if I gave any advice to the average amateur, I want them to look at the statistics and what the player did well to win that tournament that week. It's just like the big thing this year with everyone complaining about how far these guys are hitting it, and they hit it too far, and we need to, kind of cap the distance and limit technology. To be honest, driving distance isn't winning golf tournaments. It really isn't. Look at the
Yeah.
putting, look at the approach game, look how many greens these guys are hitting from 175, 200 yards out. That's what's winning golf tournaments, right?
No,
Yeah, these
I
guys are so consistent these days. The depth of the field on all tours is incredible, and they work their asses off. These guys truly are putting in the time and figuring it out in the dirt. That's the only way you can do that with this game, and you can't underestimate short game. Right, there was a great post that went around this week of DeChambeau, asking Justin Thomas if he's got to 180 ball speed. And Justin Thomas replied, he's like, no, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but I'm spending too much on my short game. You should try it. Right. So it's all about rescue with golf and decision making, as I'm sure you can attest to, Austin. And, these pros, for the most part, make great decisions. Us amateurs, I'll speak for, you guys are pros, but a lot of times we make dumb decisions out there and make that double bogey in a tournament when you're ruin 12 holes of great play and you just throw it all away because usually we try to go for something that we shouldn't.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, everybody looks at Bryson DeChambeau. He's such a showboat, right? He goes out there and hits it so long. And a lot of the tour players were kind of thrown back because after he wins the US Open, his yardages were so much closer than everybody else going to the green, and he took advantage of it, and rightfully so. I mean, if you got the length, if we go back to Jack Nicklaus or Tiger Woods, they're always the longest hitters on tour. There is an advantage at the highest level. So that's my debate over the fact that it really doesn't make a difference. I think it does, but for the average amateur, the average even mini tour player, it doesn't because they're playing courses that are 6,800 to 7,100 yards. These guys are playing 7,100 plus yards most of the time. So the distance does matter. Someone like Phil Mickelson is out there still because of his distance, not because most of the guys can't. You go on the Champions Tour, fantastic tour. Prices are getting, purses are getting up really high. The quality and level of play is amazing. However, none of these guys could compete with their distance because they're hitting it under 300. But they're getting it there with distance and distance. That being said, Austin, I'm going to ask you this. If you've got an amateur or a professional that comes in to see you, take me through what you do when they come in and see you.
Yeah. So for example, let's say I had an amateur come in and they were saying, look, I want to put some distance on over the winter and be ready for next golf season to hit a little bit further. I think that the biggest thing that individual needs to understand is that, swing mechanics come second to working on your body. First of all, you need to have good body awareness and be able to understand, okay, is my body capable of being able to handle the amount of pressure I'm going to put on it from swinging harder? If it's not, then you actually have to put in a lot more time working on the body, doing physio, making sure you're stretching, and having more awareness of how your body works so that, you can make your swing a little bit better. So on my end, I'm a big advocate on giving the individual more awareness of how their body works, whether it's their lower body, being able to stabilize your pelvis, work on your hips. I really like working on lower body, making sure that the individual is aware of how their lower body works, how to stabilize it, how to rotate it. And I'm more interested in what I've seen from PGA Tour players and the amount of work that these guys are putting in on their body week in, week out. It's quite amazing, right? I mean, they've got trucks at events now where you can have a physio 5-6 times a week if you want, right? Yep. Physio truck, they got chiros, they got trainers, they got a full team ready to work on you at all times, right? And I think that is the most important area that any amateur player could take advantage of, taking care of their body, working more on the longevity of their body throughout their whole golfing career, right?
Oh, so absolutely. Important. And we had this debate last week or 2 weeks ago, right, Mike, with Kevin Smiley from the CFL. He's a tour legend. He was talking about how golfers are not really athletes, and he doesn't like that term. And what I noticed on your website, the word athlete recurred over and over because I was debating him over the fact that at the highest level, the 1% of the 1% that play at the PGA Tour or the European Tour, These guys are working on their game 40, 50 hours a week, in addition to traveling, in addition to taking care of their nutrition and their clubs. And there's so much that goes into what they do. No longer do we have Tim Herron's, the Tim Herron type, who's an amazing skill player, or John Daly. Those guys will not last right now. And, you know, it's a marathon. You're playing 4 days. You're playing at a quick pace of play, and there's the stress. There's the whole mental side of the game as well. So all of those elements are just incredible. And I think when people try to elevate their game or bring it to another level, they're starting to realize they need to look at those elements: the mental game, their clubs, the physical aspects of not only their flexibility, but the strength and speed and power that's needed to play this game properly. And I don't want to scare our listeners and our viewers away from golf, but it takes years. It takes years to get really good.
Yes.
And
For the golfer that has that drive to be the best they can be, they need to find that motivation. So they do work on their body. They do work on different components of their game, including the mind. And not every golfer wants to do that. There is, probably 80%, 90% of the golfers just want to get out there and smack the ball around and drink beer and have some fun, and that's great. But for the ones amateurs or pros, who want to compete, you're going to get lapped if you don't consider improving your body and putting the hours into your game. And you have to learn to like practice. Like for myself, I really appreciate throwing the headphones on and getting around putting and chipping green for an hour or two, and I'll actually do that longer than I will spend time at the range. It's just because it is enjoyable, and those are your stroke savers. So but yeah, you've got to find that gear to improve, and everyone wants to, but it's just like anything. You've got to put that work into it.
absolutely. Aren't you guys amazed on how many people get into the game, or they're not bad? They might be a single digit handicapper, and they're talking about possibly going on tour and what they think their chances are to do. I'm amazed at the questions I got this summer from guys who are older, in their mid 40s, who are talking about, oh, you think I could? And I'm saying, guys, there's a whole nother level you need to get to, and when you get there, there's another 1% of 1%. I mean, it's so difficult, it's so hard, that I don't think people really realize. I worked with Bob Boschman in the early 2000s, who was a time-to-time PGA player and played the mini tours. He was also commissioner and founder of the Canadian Tour, which is now the Mackenzie Tour. And he used to tell me, if you can't shoot under par on every golf course you play on, then forget about even qualifying. So, and that stuck with me. And I went into instructing. And it's been a great journey. So you guys, maybe you could just elaborate on your experience with people, saying they're going to get their game to another level. Because I find it funny, but it's hard to bring them down to reality.
I know it's well, in this generation, I think there's just so much more factors besides just playing golf, right? You look at even a young pro that wants to, try and get on tour. There's a lot to it, right? You need good financing, you need good backing. If you don't have $100,000 to burn a year, it's going to be very hard, right? You need to travel, you need to eat, stay in hotels, rent cars, play every event you can every week, because that's what the top guys are doing. So if you want to compete at the highest level, you need to be playing at least a 2-day, 3-day tournament every week, just to get into that rhythm of what a tour player does week in, week out, right? It's the only way. And play every Q school you can. The more opportunities you give yourself, you just give yourself more chances to make it. But you have to be willing to sacrifice, spend a lot of money and invest a lot of time, and be content with having zero at the end of it.
I was watching Division 1 and 2 East and West Coast finals on college university golf, and these kids, I can't believe. Every single one of them has some sort of, coach or team with them. You're looking at Stanford; they got their own private jet that flies out to events. It's pretty incredible, and it's
Yeah.
finally getting covered, right? People never realize how actually it's a very elite sport, right? There's a lot of opportunities for everybody to do this, but unlike other sports, if you take it to the highest level, and when we're talking about mainstream sports, hockey, football, basketball, takes a lot of money and a lot of practice, a lot of training, and a good support system. That being that financial or family, it's so important to have that support system.
Yeah,
Yes.
in golf, it's one of those things. Is yes, it's accessible to lesser income families, but to have that coach, to have like you just said, they're traveling with you. So Austin, you say it's 100K to have a float. If you want to bring your coach with you, your physio and
Yeah.
everything, it's you could spend $250,000 right away on a year,
Yeah.
and win zero, and not make any cuts. So or if you do place well, say a player gets a couple top tens, they got to then stretch that money out even further and then live on it when they get home, because they need to practice and raise more money to do it again. So
Yeah.
it's tough. So when you hear a story of guys like Keegan Bradley, I believe, didn't really have a silver spoon and gets out there and grinds it and makes it, and you hear stories of guys sleeping in their car and driving from tour event to tour event, and when they have success, like what's the guy's name? He played well this weekend. I'm gonna look it up on the side here, but he was driving DoorDash a year ago,
Oh,
and
yeah,
he
yeah,
and he
yeah.
qualified, and Skinny, what's his last name? Skins or something like
Right,
that.
right.
David.
Yeah, so he had his best finish yet. So that those stories are great, and I think that's what us as amateurs kind of hang on to and think that, hey, maybe we'll give it a shot someday, but it's a
Yeah.
total pipe dream,
Yeah,
right?
people,
So
people don't know the sacrifice. Even for the tour players, it's really expensive. Pat Perez was talking about this on the Subpar podcast a couple of weeks ago, where he went out to Vegas, he made the cut. They said you must be happy, you made the cut, made some bucks. He goes, man, that's how much it costs. He ends up making 25,000. He had to rent a house, bring his whole team down, fly down, get ready for the next tournament. Everything that entails, he's probably left over for $1,000 going for a restaurant and taking his whole team out, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and so that's how expensive it is. And when you get your first win, like Taylor Gooch this weekend, it means the world to these guys. They've been grinding for so long. He's 30 years old. So we got a lot of Canadians who are, getting up there in the golf world because they're getting so young now. But look, Taylor Gooch, he's 30 years old. He went 22 under, shoots a 64 at the RSM Classic, and that sets him up for 2 to 3 years. The sponsors are going to come rolling in. You just play well and everything starts rolling in. And we got our boy Mackenzie Hughes. Man, I was pulling for him. I even had some money on him this weekend on
Yeah.
Bodog. I had $20 to make $700 off.
Yeah.
But that's not the reason I was pulling for him. I always pull for the Canadian boys, but he was so close. But solo second is pretty cool. Pretty cool, and pretty cool for Taylor Gooch to, get his invitation to the Masters and PGA and all that. You guys have a chance to watch it?
Yeah, absolutely.
yes.
I've played Sea Island. I've played the Plantation. I've played Seaside. I've played that course actually quite a bit because I went to school in Georgia. So
Sweet.
I really like that place. Actually, it's very cool. And the practice facility is phenomenal, and just being on that island as well. There's so many good courses. Frederica to they've got one tournament where they host the Jones Cup there, and good amateur tournament. But a lot of pros, they hang out there at Sea Island, call that their
Yeah.
home base. But that
Davis Love.
golf course is real deal. Yeah, Davis Love,
Yep.
Jonathan
So
Berger, Kuchar, bunch of guys.
Austin, what is a course that stands out in your you've played around a lot, so what's your favorite golf course out there? If you could get in a jet and go there right now, what would it be?
If I was to look at like the tour rotation of courses that I've played, TPC Sawgrass is pretty cool. I like TPC Scottsdale. I've played a lot of the TPC courses in the state. Pretty good. As far as like high-end country club, elite, like I've played the Honors a bunch in Tennessee, which is really good.
Yeah,
That's where Tiger
that's cool.
played USM there when he was really young. Played Jordan's course, actually, Grove 23.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Yeah, I played.
That's amazing.
That was one of the coolest experiences as far as seeing what is possible for having limitless money and building the ultimate facility / golf course. That's something else.
Did they bring your lunch out on a drone?
I didn't get to see that, but they had they've got a halfway house where you can literally whatever you want, it's there. But just for example, you know, you look at the day I was out there, Fowler was there, JT was there, Dustin Johnson was there playing with his caddy and his buddies, and I was playing with a friend that caddies there, and basically you show up. There is probably one of the coolest driving ranges I've ever seen. It's like a 360 range. The back of the range has 12 greens just for wedges. And then you go on the other side of the range, they've got, I don't know, another 12 greens for irons. They've got split fairway for driver. They've got numerous chipping greens and putting greens all around the facility. So if you're someone that likes to practice and hang out at a practice facility, that is real deal. Same with the medalists, same with a lot of the courses down there in the southern United States. And, you know, they have it made as far as the resources.
Sounds like paradise.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. You know, I was fortunate to work out of a company out of Florida, out of Fort Lauderdale, and I got to work at different golf courses in the Caribbean for a whole summer. And so taking clients out on the golf course, things of that nature in the mid 2000s. And I had the opportunity to play a dozen times over in Barbados at Sandy Lane. That's where Tiger Woods got married. And the Green Monkey course is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. So you can imagine a tropical forest on the top of a mountain. And you're playing these greens and the golf course. Basically, there's nobody on the golf course. But because I was there in the summer, it's so hot that after 9 holes, I'd go inside, take a shower, and play another 9. I'd have to change. I'd be sweating that much. The views are just unforgettable. The clubhouse patio area opens up 180 degrees, and you can see the whole west side of the island in the Caribbean. And they have a Cartier jewelry store open inside the place, which I've never seen anywhere. But yeah, that's probably my most unforgettable clubhouse and experience. So that was great. How about you, Mike?
Well, Austin mentioned Tpc Scottsdale, which I've actually got a flag behind me. Played that, probably about 10 years ago with our mutual buddy Jared. And we had so much fun. And the grandstands were all up. So like it was, 2 weeks before the Phoenix Open. And so we went back another day because we didn't bring the camera. So we went back with the camera to take pictures and just experience that course. They had the rough grown up to tournament conditions. So the caddies were offering a local rule to move your ball closer to the fairway should you want to. But it was a great golf course, great short game area. Like you could literally go there hours early and just binge practice. It was a lot of fun.
What's probably wild about that is you have all the stands. So if you're going into 16 and you get the whole stadium feel to it, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you come off of 15 playing into that drivable par 5.
Yep.
And then you go through the tunnel and on there, it was unbelievable. So, and at that time, the grandstands was probably about 60% of what it is now. It's even more impressive these days. But, that was a fun golf experience.
Right on, right on. Well, listen, we're going to end off with funny golf stories. I'm going to start off. You guys could think of something that's happened at a tournament or something you played in or a golf course where you've had a funny experience. We end off the show every week this way. And Mike's had some pretty funny stories. We've experienced a few things together over the years. Back from when was it? We played together from 95 to 1997 together, and then a whole bunch of other times in between. I'll go back to where I was talking about. I was over at the Sandy Lane, the Green Monkey course in Barbados, and I was on the 14th fairway driving down in a golf cart. This is one of the times I was playing alone, and it's known for its green monkeys. That's why the golf course is called the Green Monkey Course. But no one ever sees them because they always travel in packs and they're always in the tropical forest. And I saw all the monkeys by the fairway. So I drove into the school of monkeys and started taking pictures with my BlackBerry. It's back in 2008, 2008 or 9. And I was fascinated, right? I was taking all these pictures. I go back to the clubhouse. I go and have a drink at the bar. I tell the bartender the story, right? And he says, these monkeys are very protective, and they could get super aggressive. I said, what are you talking about? And in his Bayesian accent, he says, yeah, man, they rip your face right off, man. He goes, you're crazy taking pictures. That's a horrible accent, but I couldn't believe the fact that I put myself in such danger. I was told afterwards that people have been attacked over and over again if you go and approach a school of monkeys. So I was lucky, and so that's kind of a terrifying but funny story right now.
Oh yeah, I've got lots of those. Just playing, especially with the wildlife, playing in the South, even in Georgia, Florida. There's lots of wildlife around there, and it scared me one time. I hit my ball into a hazard, and being from Canada, you never really think about snakes and think about all those things that are on a golf course, right? And then you're just like whipping around the bush looking for your ball, and you don't really care. And so one time I made the mistake of, I was hacking through the bush around the water hazard, and sure enough, there was like a water moccasin right by my foot, and I almost stepped on its head. And ever since that day, I just never stepped foot close to a hazard again. It's always in my head now. Every time I hit the ball somewhere near trouble, I'm thinking twice, right?
Jeez. I've just thought of one time at Nicholas North up here in Whistler, Raf, and Austin will know the course, but the 17th is a pretty difficult long par 3, and my buddy Andre and I are just coming off of that green, and 18 plays going backwards, so I'm looking at 8 guys standing on the 18th fairway. They're all up by the 150 marker, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on here? So I'm looking backwards at these 8 guys and complaining to Andre, and then bang, I walk into a tree branch, like a thick branch. It knocked me flat on my ass. I hit the ground and then jumped up. I thought someone punched me in the head. And I get up, I'm looking around, and Andre's laughing his head off at me because I'm like, now I've got a goose egg on my head, and, still concerned about the 8 people standing in the next hole. And I actually had to go to the hospital after that because I had, was bleeding and a, golf ball sized egg on my head. And it was pretty funny. And we went out in Whistler and got drunk that night, and I forgot all about it. So.
There you go. That's the way to do it. Guys, time's running by so quickly. I'm just going to mention that, if you want to get in touch with Austin out in Vancouver, tell us where we could get in touch with you, your website, maybe your social media handles.
Yeah, you can check out my website. It's kind of, I threw it together, but I got another one that I'm going to launch soon, but it's called climbladders.com, and it's kind of more of what I like to touch up on as far as what the players are doing in this generation to be the best they can be. And I'm a big advocate of educating individuals on what these players are doing as far as the resources and the team-like environment that they're, taking big measures to try and better themselves as individuals, not just as golfers, but, cover all the areas of the game. So you can check out my website, or you can go to my Instagram. I think it's Austin_PGA. But, if you do want to get in touch with me and look at some areas of your game and talk about my experiences and what I've seen with tour coaches and tour players and current generation players, junior players, amateurs, whatever, feel free to talk to me. I'd love that.
Mike, any final
I
words?
highly recommend it. Anybody, I've worked with Austin a few times, and he's extremely knowledgeable. All the technology is there, and there's lots to learn. So absolutely check it out.
Yeah, so we have a 2-level indoor facility in Richmond, British Columbia. So yeah, you can check out, send me a message if anyone ever wants to come in, take a look at what we have as far as the resources and what's available to use during these rainy times here in Vancouver, then feel free.
Well,
And that also includes TPI. There's a fitness center with Mike Azawa, who's a certified coach. He's a hell of a golfer as well. And so, yeah, they've got everything you need there.
Oh, amazing. Well, Austin, thanks for coming on. I just want to bring one thing up still. We do have some sponsors for the show, so I'm just going to bring up Drinkwell. Uh, Mike, can you tell us a little bit about Drinkwell?
Yeah, Drinkwell is a great company. They started off making juice, which I've been conveniently drinking on the show. They've also got a series of vodka seltzers that made with real juice, and great company. So
Perfect
follow
for
them online.
golfing.
It's exactly.
Also,
You pick your poison.
Also, I want to give a big shout out to the Upper Hand Sporting Cards and Trading Card Game store. They've been a sponsor from the beginning, and go down to upperhand.ca to get your sporting cards. They've got all kinds of rookies and amazing things and collectibles. So, guys, make sure you follow us. We're now going to be on Spotify, on iTunes. Make sure you follow us, share the podcast, and with our new title, which is Mike, the Golf
Podcast
Live. It's the Golf Podcast, no longer Podcast Live and Golfcast. It's the Golf Podcast Live. So for Austin Hughes and Michael Bleackley, I'm Rafael Kalamat. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll see you guys next week.